I went through the shop recently talking about moving machines. And I continually get ones, how do I recognize a good used mill? How do I recognize a good used lathe? And the unfortunate part is you won't really. You will do your best to guess. This machine here, this mill, when I bought it, it had nice scraping all the way out to the end of the ways, and you can still see a little scraping here, and it's wearing. This machine is not perfectly straight. It's okay. I think someone may have re-scraped it and not done it perfect. So one of those rules, looking for scraping marks. Are you going to set up all of the laser checking equipment, hire $4,000 someone to come in for a $4,500 machine at that time to check it and make sure it's perfect? No. You know, are you going to sit there and spend 2 days machining parts on it to get an idea? No. You're going to take some gamble. One of the worst ones I did, and we'll kind of go around some of the machines here, but what I'm imploring you to, it's not a matter of to ignore everything, but you're going to get to a point, you do your best to look for it, and you're going to buy a machine. Sometimes it's going to be wonderful. Well, before I go out to my worst one, I'll go out over here to my best one. And one of the most gambly things you can do is buying it without seeing it yourself, okay? Some of your best buys come at auctions or on the internet, either one. And the thing is, you can't travel around to all these auctions, or you travel to go to the auction, but you couldn't be there a week earlier when the inspection closed, when they're no longer under power when the actual auction is on. If you flew there a week earlier, you got hotel rooms, so you're going to take guesses sometimes, or you're not going to buy the machine. If you don't buy the machine, well, that works out sometimes too. The Cincinnati in the other room was, I thought, and we might as well point that out just in case somebody's got one of these, it was squeaking. There's two oilers on it. There's the oiler up here, oils the table ways. Then there's an oiler here, which oils the way for the knee, but it also, somewhere in there, oils gears. I don't know what it does. Haven't rebuilt one of these, but it oils something else. We had jobs for about 2 months on this machine where it never raised up and down, so we weren't pulling the handle all the time. Machine started squeaking, worrying me. I thought it was going to die. Finally, we went over here, pulled that lever a couple times, squeak went away. So there's something inside of there in the gear train that needs that handle pulled now and then, even if you're not using that axis. And that could be a short about the Cincinnati, because I found that. But when that happened, that it's squeaking, I'm like, wow, it's the only horizontal we've got in the shop. We have to do something to have a horizontal. You go through periods, and that's the other thing. If you're outfitting a shop, especially for a guy at home, wait for the perfect opportunity. This machine here came up. This was not the perfect opportunity, but it came out to be the perfect buy. It was unreal. A auto wrecking yard had bought this from a machine dealer that had gone out of business at an auction. He was selling it for buy it now on eBay, had cruddy pictures of it, showing this thing covered in rust. Why was I willing to even consider this when the machine is covered in rust? Well, that's because this other one, which I bought sight unseen, had also been covered in rust when I bought it. And you can see that the ways got nice scrapings in them, especially the vertical ways here. You couldn't see any of that in the pictures when I bought it sight unseen, sight as far as physically unseen. it just looked like it had an 1/8 inch of rust on it. It was just disgusting in the pictures. So while I would have, knowing what I know about this machine, I would have bid 10, 15,000 on it. I had my maximum bid set at 4,500. I got it for about 4,100. So I was within my range. I bought it. When I got down there, there were other issues, which part of the pieces were missing. We found those later. They came with it, but you got to talk to the people, and there's issues. I mentioned that other times. Anyway, turned out to be a great machine. We just had to oil it, wipe it down. So I wasn't totally afraid, and I needed a horizontal. So I wasn't totally afraid of the rust in the pictures because of how clean that one came out, how good of a machine it was. And then the other thing was shipping. This was way back on the East Coast. So what I did, I don't remember exactly. I think I ended up with somewhere less than 6,000 in it, and it was closer to 9-ish when I first added it up with the shipping and buying the machine. So I got a hold of a different shipper and told them what the one shipper had quoted me. And then I also had offered these guys, just in case the shipping didn't come in, I offered them $1,000 or 1,500 less. And anyway, I made an offer on both, and then the shipping, I read that one first, so I was going to go ahead and just buy it. And in the meantime, they emailed me back that they'd take my offer. So I got the benefit on both ends. Timing, good timing. So the machine's coming in. It's going to be an adequate replacement. It gets here crated beautifully. Oak, solid, hard oak. I don't know what they scrapped out to get the oak from. It wasn't new, but it was beautiful crate. Anyway, they crated it up for $350. Beautiful. Some guy named Carl that he hired that was nearby his wrecking yard. Beautiful crate. Pull a board off a crate. I go in here and I just start laughing, of course, because now I have my eyes looking at it instead of the pictures. What I thought was rust was cosmoline. It was a new surplus machine from a dealer that went out of business. It was not used. Beautiful mill. Love it, love it. Sometimes you get lucky on these faraway ones. Now we'll go to the one that was not lucky. And yes, it's a shame that things set outside. Its first trip outside, it's way over there. We don't even need to go up close to it. Its first trip outside was when we were using it to throw chuck keys to see how far we could throw them. And we really couldn't get the lathe to throw them that far. But anyway, that's another video you can watch. Carriage gear broken, headstock shaft twisted. Just everything was garbage, you know. I think they took pictures of either a similar machine or this machine when it was new, and then went ahead and sold them from those pictures, which really gave me a good idea. If you're a crook and you want to, when you buy your car new, take pictures of it, inside, outside, all around it. Then all you got to do is clean up the odometer, add that into your files, and you put that out when you're selling your car on the internet. This is the car for sale. You don't have to show all the current stuff. It's a picture of the car you're selling. It's showing the odometer at the correct odometer time you're selling it. Yeah, this guy, anyway. I did get my money back. I paid for the lathe, but I've still got way more in shipping, which I'm not getting refunded for ever than what that piece of iron is worth. If somebody wants a limper lathe for their shop and they're in Fairbanks, well, maybe we can make a deal. But yeah, that was the worst deal I ever had. This one I bought new. It sat on a pallet for a long time. It seems to be a decent machine, but I just bought it new. You used to be able to buy machines in the 80s new for not too much money. I think $3,000 for that new, something like that. But it sat here actually for 20 years before I used it. But that's not about buying used machines. This one is an example of a good deal, but not a great deal. Table mark was here, other table marks. It's a little loose. It did not have the variable speed head on it. It had the step pulley head. The bearings were not good in it. We've been through everything on the head. And we also bred it with another head that originally had been offered to me for, I think he wanted $1,500 or $2,000 for the head, along with the milling machine he was trying to sell me for $1,000. I saw the exact same head, variable speed, setting at an auction, and nobody seemed to want it. I bought it for $100. So at $100, it was a good, and it had some bad parts too. So it was not a good head, but between the two, it gave me the variable speed, and then we bought new parts. But when the mill came up for sale, a friend told me about it. And it wasn't in the machine shop trade, just hey, this guy's got this milling machine. I think you might want a milling machine. I don't know, it's the right brand. And it was supposed to be $1,500. It was sitting in his garage. I went down with my flatbed, and it turned out it was not in his garage. It was in the garage of the man that had passed away. It was a relative that was selling it from out of town. Another man that came over to unlock the shop was taking care of things for the relative that was out of town. And I paid $1,500 for it. That was without the shaper head. I bought that for $1,200 off eBay at another time. So all total, I probably got $5,000, $6,000 in the mill now. And if you look at this, would you pay that for this machine? Yeah, the slaughter makes up for it, but probably not. It's not really worth that. But the $1,500, and the other part of that was when I went there, there's no equipment. We've got to load this thing. Fortunately, I went there with a friend. There was a little place that we could hook overhead. You couldn't, even with this on my flatbed, you couldn't drive out of the garage it was in. So literally, we disassembled this as best we could, used a little come along, and put the pieces one at a time on my flatbed so that we could get it out of the garage. So me and a friend spent most of a day, not quite I'd say a 6-hour day. We spent about 6 hours getting it come along, jacked, blocked. We're gonna get the base on, get the ram on, get all the different pieces on so that we could get this on my truck, and then tied it down and came back to Fairbanks. So it wasn't just $1,500. Sometimes you gotta add a little work into getting these good deals on machines. This one here. It was setting out in a field. I had decided a few years earlier that I wanted to have a little bandsaw like this. They're not used in shops a whole lot anymore, and if you're not looking to spend a lot of money for what you use these for most of the time, one of these little porta-bands with a little table on it is pretty good. It's not bad, and I was actually thinking about doing that, and I kept thinking I sort of wanted one of these. We've got the porta-bands also, not with tables though. And this was setting out in a field, and there was something else. I got an Athey wagon from there later. I think someone told me about this one too. I'm not sure. Anyway, or it was a garage sale. Maybe, anyway, setting out there. Whether I mentioned it or they mentioned it first, it was $200. It was ugly. We've done some straightening. We've painted it. We tore it down. We put belts in it, bearings. This was actually one of the guys that worked for me for about 4 years. This was his first job here. And he knew a little bit about mechanics, nothing about machining yet. I just told him, take everything apart. So the $200, we add 2 weeks of labor, parts, it's a $3,000 saw. But we did that in-house, keeps somebody going, gives him a little skill. That's okay. That's okay. Yeah, that's okay. There's lots of ways you get this stuff. If you want to know how to get the machine like this that is perfect in all axes, scraped 100%, you're going to get that one of two ways. You're either going to go to a high-end machine tool rebuilder, which there ain't too many of. So at a high-end machine tool rebuilder, if he really rebuilt this machine should sell for about $40,000. I don't know what they're getting today. I don't know anybody has one on the floor like this, but he should get about $40,000. If you were to buy a comparable new Chinese machine, it's going to be new, and it may or may not be, it's not going to be what this will be, but it may or may not be a good machine. They make some good machines, they don't make some good machines. I don't know of any, there may be manufacturers in other places in Germany or somewhere, but I don't know of any, like the Deckels and the Mahos. You know, those were some of the last manual ones I knew of that were similar to this. But even those, when you start talking manual machines, they're 30 years old, 40 years old. You're not going to get the new one. So even at that, there's, when you're talking manual machines, there's some things. And when you're talking CNCs, you have all kinds of other problems with that. The biggest one is, will somebody support it afterwards? Do you have other people to help you? My little MCO CNC, great little lathe, 7-axis, does this, does that, has the sub spindle. I loved it. I didn't use it enough. Battery went dead. It's now sitting there. Maybe we'll get it going. I'd like to. It's not a priority. There's not that much work for it here. That's why it's set for 9 months. There's just not that much work in the interior of Alaska for computer-controlled machines. There's a little bit now and then, not much. So, but yeah, to have one absolutely new, you've got the whole ranting on this thing is you're gonna have to set your expectations. Don't set them on garbage unless you find the machine that's garbage and it's free. It's $100, which in fact is the same thing with this. After I got this one, then I got that one out there, then I got a number 3 Cincinnati that I paid about $900 for. That's a pretty nice machine. It's sitting outside, sorry, greased, covered, but sitting outside because I don't have the room, but I figured it was good to have a backup, especially if the Polish one happened to break for $900. It's military surplus. A week after I got it, I got another one of these at the same military surplus for just under $200. So I went and got it. It's a good machine. We've actually wired it up, checked it out, ran it. I do not have the correct overarm support because they lost it. Military's good for stuff like that. They keep it all together until it goes to surplus. When it goes to surplus, it's 12 different things instead of one thing sometimes. So it does not have the matching overarm arbor support. I could make this one fit the machine if we had to, but unless this machine dies, it's just a backup. 2 months later, another one comes up at auction. Same machine, it had been military surplus. I buy it for $110 at auction here in town. Rusty, I bring it in. In fact, we brought both of those second ones in at the same time, and we actually used them. There was a job that I was running through, and we had 3 different setups. We used all 3 of the horizontals. So we know they do work. We actually used them. Then we greased them, covered them up, put them outside. So, but those were $100 machines. You don't, it's not the time to be seeing how many teeth the horse has. You know, it's not the time. $100, yeah, you just pick it up, take it home, see if it'll be writable. Heat treat furnace, which we've got new elements coming on order. I knew I wanted one. I paid $900 and some for it. It actually sat for close to 20 years before I had a job that I brought it in for. That time we rewired it. We've used it for 15 years since then. I've got another one that's sitting outside that I paid $100 for. It's a little bit newer version of it. It's still sitting outside like this one did for a long time. It uses the fiber insulation instead of the bricks. It's not good for them to set outside, but it's the only way I can store it. And it's improper storage, but for $100, why not bring it home? could be all the bricks blow out of this, or I need a second one for something, need a lower temperature, doing different things. Yeah, you got to have room, of course, to have lots of extras. This is, you're buying a lathe. Say you're buying a lathe, and don't, you know, when you're looking at pictures, it's very hard. You need a clean machine to be able to look at it, but just because the machine is dirty, somebody didn't clean chips off all the time, didn't mean that they didn't oil it and didn't wipe the ways down. This machine here, I actually like better than the one that's 18 years newer. I bought both of them new, and they were making them better at this time. That one is a 2016, this one is a 96. I bought it in 97. I don't know, it's hard to tell, you know. I could give all kinds of, let's see. One of the things, you know, okay, you go up to a machine, there's backlash. You will have one person will tell you, oh, it can't have over 10 thousandths backlash. Someone else will tell you 25, 5, 2, whatever. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. If it has lots of backlash, chances are you're going to have to put in a new cross lead nut in it. You might need to put in a cross lead screw. You could pull up the cover. This one, it pops off. I don't want to right now, but you can pull up cover. You can look at things to a certain extent if you're there. Does it make noise when you run the gears? There's no one hard and fast thing that you have to, this is what I got to have for the lathe. Most important is the ways. You really don't want to be reworking the ways. So the better condition of the ways is what I would go for. At the same time, if the ways dip down a 1/16 of an inch and you don't have a lathe at all, as I've said in one of my shorts, everybody needs a lathe. A lathe, a lathe, a lathe. Mechanics shop, you need a lathe. Everyone, got to have a lathe. So you can't all get paid to take a saw home. You know, essentially this one at auction, by the time I bought 2 other lathes, I got paid to take it home, essentially. 2 other saws, I mean, and I sold it, I actually got paid. I came out ahead on the deal, plus the saw. This one here, I paid right at my maximum. I would not have bid another $1 for this one. I paid $11,000 for it when I bought it at auction. And that was my maximum I had set for myself. It was $11,000, no more. And I actually talked to the guy that was a friend of mine that was also bidding on it. I didn't realize we were bidding against each other till later. He was like, I'd kind of like to have it, but not for $11,000. So, okay, so he didn't feel bad that he didn't get it. And it's straight. Yeah, that one cuts pretty straight. There's no definite. It's hard. It's hard to say. This is what you got to have. People want to have a prescription, and that's the thing. As much as anything else, this is against that idea of having to have a prescription, because I see the man that retired and is going to do some things he wants to do. The man that's starting to build up a shop at home while he's working still. You delay your shop for 10 or 15 years sometimes, these guys do, looking for the perfect lathe. The perfect lathe is the one you can get. The perfect mill is the one you can get. You can get rid of it again later. My first lathe was a 12-inch, it said Craftsman on it. It was an Atlas, 12 by 36, had the big bed. In reasonably good condition. I think they're kind of a junky lathe. Some people like them. It's a copy of a South Bend model lathe, is where it's that they started out with that line, and then they changed it a little bit. I think they're kind of junky. They're loose, even at best. They use low quality bearings. Can you do quality work on them? Yes. It was the best lathe I had for 2 years. It saved me. You know, I'd go to work and working on regular lathes, and I'd come home and I'd use this little, I didn't dislike the lathe, I loved it. It was a lathe. I mean, I could be realistic saying I had it, it wasn't the best lathe, but it was a lathe. It was my first lathe. I almost bought one for 75 bucks 15 years earlier, whatever, from a shop foreman I was working with. It was a 6-inch Atlas without threading gears, just had feed, and you had to use change gears that bolted on. And I told him, he told me he was trying to sell it. He only wanted these 70. I'm like, I want it, I want it, I want it. I don't know if it would have been good for me or not, you know, because I might have kept it too long and not bought the Atlas. So, you know, be willing to move up. Be willing to move up. That would have been the one thing with it. He refused to sell it to me because he literally refused to sell it to me because he said I should have a better lathe. I agree with him. I've seen some of those 6-inch Atlas without, you know, and no, but if it's the only lathe, if it's the only lathe you've got room for, you know, love it, care for it, endorse it. Give him 75, give him 150. I think they're actually probably averaging 300 bucks today. But be willing to move up. Be willing to move up too. That's the thing where why it's not bad to buy a lesser machine than what you want. And sometimes you get an unknown machine. Don't buy the unknown machine just because somebody's bragging about it. You know, I see a lot of these machines from machinery dealers. You look out back, oh, that's our back, that's the ones we're not. No. 2 years ago, those were the same machines that are sitting on the floor today. That lathe sitting outside, the machinery dealer, they store them that way a lot of times. Not all of them, but a lot of them do. They store them outside, they don't take that, then they bring it inside, then they paint it, clean it up, and fix what was broken on it and pretend like all the other stuff was always perfect. Not as much now today because there aren't that many manual machinery dealers. So you don't get that same scam. Today, you're buying CNCs, and I don't know, I've seen some pretty sketchy things from some of them. And I've had, yeah, in fact, I got bit by some, and it's been long enough ago, I won't go into that. I've also had ones that treated me really good. But pin them down and make sure that it's got a new battery. Make sure that you can get support for it. Make sure that you know what it is, really what it is. One that's more common is a lot better if you're doing CNC. That's you know, like I've got the Siemens controller on this IMCO. The Fanuc controller is the more common one on those. And that's the one that most people know how to deal with. They offered it both ways. Now, had I gone for waiting for it, I wouldn't have got that particular machine. It was just offered that way, and it was a reasonable deal. At the time I bought it, I paid $32,000 for it. I've had it for quite a while now. So, you know, people, oh God, you paid $32,000 for that antique? Well, it was a little newer when I bought it. And it has made its money back. It has paid me back. It was a nice machine. I'd like to use it again. What's it worth today? Probably 1,500 bucks right now at most. It could be worth more to the right person. What would I sell it for is another question. I would not sell it for less than probably 10 today because I still have hopes of making it go again, and it's setting here. You know, between here and where most of you are is $20,000 to $30,000 in shipping. So you could look at another machine and say, well, I'll just buy this one. Yeah, add some money on for shipping. It's not the same price. I had lots of people actually when I was, some of my CNCs that I moved out, there were people interested in some of them, and they're like, I keep telling them, no, it needs to be somebody nearby. Maybe Canada, somewhere in Alaska, You start looking at back shipping it, now it's worth zero. It's not that the 8,000 I wanted for something was too much. It was that $1 was too much because the shipping. It had to be a local sale. It's a whole different thing. And that's what for most people in the States, yeah, travel a couple 100 miles, get a trailer, rent a trailer, hire some trucking if you have to, but don't go to the other side of the country unless there's something absolutely perfect, because shipping adds your cost. I've already talked about the loader, of course, which is more what's in the shop today than machine tools. I like our little loader. This one was a perfect example of what I'm telling people not to do. You have a checklist. Number one on my checklist was hollow spindle lathe. I would like to have a hollow spindle lathe in here in the shop going. And this is hollow spindle, Lehman lathe. It's a good model lathe. We're doing some improvements to it also when we put it back together. Way more work time than what it's worth. I paid $5,500 for this lathe when I started with it. Too much money. Knowing now how bad the lathe was, $1 would have been too much money. I have got myself married to it now because I have put all new bearings in the headstock. I have done lots to it. I'm married, so we're in a marriage at this point. It was a mistake. It was a total mistake. Had I not had that checklist of having to have a hollow spindle, well, I see the value of a hollow spindle, and I would like to have one. The perfect deal on a hollow spindle came up about 6 years after I bought this. Having this that I didn't know how bad it was yet, because I knew it needed a little work, kept me from getting the deal I should have got on the hollow spindle for $25,000 plus another $15,000 at that time for shipping. Beautiful, beautiful machine. That machine today had cost you $150,000 to $200,000. I didn't buy it. Why? I looked at it. It taunted me. It was it was like a '68 Camaro with a big block. It was there. Should I have said that? That's probably a little crude. Oh well. Yeah, shouldn't have said that. I did. Oh well. Forgive me. But it was a pretty lathe. I don't remember what it was exactly for brand. I kind of think it was a LeBlanc. It was a 16-inch center hole. It had a bed on each side. It was a center head. It had been totally rebuilt by the government, bought at surplus. They'd bought more machine than they needed, and it was for sale for $25,000. Beautiful machine, beautiful, beautiful. But I didn't get it because I already had this. Well, we will make something out of this. And like I said, looking at it at this point, I'm glad to have a hollow spindle. I'm not glad I spent so much money and time on it already. But right now, getting closer to put it together, it's good to have. So when you make the mistake, you have to judge it again from where am I at today. Today, I have a lathe setting here that needs a couple of shafts made for it, a couple bearing mounts, has brand new gears in there, new bearings, and some other things. Is it worth finishing? Actually, it is still kind of a toss-up because we have so much else to do. And hollow spindles are worth more money. I don't know. Maybe I'm still making a mistake on it even for free at this point. Yeah, this was a mistake. Definitely a mistake. Don't make mistakes. And if you do, you're gonna live with them. Do the best out of it. Don't kill yourself over it. It's, yeah, you're gonna have that. If you're buying lots of machine tools, you're gonna have sometimes that you do the wrong thing. This one was, like I said, because I was looking for something specific. It's just like if you are looking for a 1967 fastback Mustang that came originally with a 390, you're going to pay a little bit more for it. If you're willing to take any 67 Mustang that comes along and then make it what you want it to be, they're cheaper. If you're willing to take any Mustang that comes along, they're way cheaper, which is what I did when I bought my Mustang. I have a 98 convertible. Very happy with it. Been lots of fun. It's a GT 5-speed. You've seen it here and there on the videos. It's lots of fun. That was a matter of actually doing what made sense instead of setting my goals in advance. So you got to be ready to look at the situation and decide if you do or don't want it. But you want all the machine tools. Anything that's a good deal on a machine tool, bring it home until your shop is so full that you can't move. Don't do that. There's no one answer. Keep your mind open. Keep your mind open. Get a good deal if you can. Sometimes, if you want to get started on something, you're going to have to spend $2,000 or $3,000 on a machine that's maybe only worth $1,000. But it'll let you get started. You can do some things and later on replace it when you get a better deal.